5 recorded public comments. Thank you.
Sally Saunders, 120 Locust Grove in Bryn Mawr. I have 3 concerns about the proposed charter school before you, which touch primarily on curriculum and the learning environment. The proposal seems to reinvent the wheel in many ways, doing what Radnor has done well for a long time. For instance, the new school will stress leadership, and the implication was that Radnor students have leadership opportunities only in clubs and teams. That's not true. There's group work in many classes. Leaders arise for group work. Labs, many leaders work in labs. And there are units of study on leadership. So this is not simply confined to clubs. Second, the new school will have a focus on Western civilization. Radnor does this already at a very high level. In grades 6 through 12, there are 3 years of world cultures, including Western civilization, 3 years of American history, government, and economics. The new school will offer certification in 4 areas such as cybersecurity, web design, games design, public safety. The vocational technical program does all of these and 17 more. Radnor does what it does at a very high level, testing in the top 1%. 97% of students graduate from the school, which indicates a high level of achievement and confidence. The new school will have, the charter school proposed will have a graduation rate of 85%, about the state average. Radnor's doing well. What is unique of the proposed school is a military model. But the fact that there is no junior ROTC at Radnor, or within 30 minutes, would seem to indicate a lack of community interest in that model. Second, the proposal seems to look backward. Little mention of diversity in curriculum. Clearly, the new school will be closed-minded about issues of sexual identity. The student will be called by the pronoun on his birth certificate. And all of this is strange in light of how much the military has to face in the future of fighting in foreign countries, integrating women, integrating homosexuals, etc. Lastly, this proposed school, although it talks about traditional curriculum, traditional literature, is not traditional in the larger context of American education. There are very few taxpayer-funded military schools in the United States. It's not a Western tradition either. There are none in France, one in England. It is common in Eastern Bloc countries and in Russia, but it's really not part of the American tradition. So to speak of it as traditional is true only in a very limited sense. These 3 things give me concern about the new proposed school. Thank you.
This is Sarah Carroll from the Villanova section of Radnor. I'm calling to comment on the charter school application, and specifically I want to raise a concern about the lack of financial capacity on the board of the charter applicant. The applicant is a newly created entity, and the application submitted in November included resumes for 5 board members. They each appear to be accomplished in their fields. However, and this is notable for an applicant proposing to run a school with almost 1,000 students and a $17 million annual budget, none of the board members has professional experience in the fields of education or finance or accounting. And the board members of the applicant entity would have the legal fiduciary duty to oversee the management of those millions of dollars in public funds and to know that appropriate accounting controls are in place. That fiduciary duty, that responsibility for fiscal oversight, is not something that a board can contract out or delegate. It rests with the board of the nonprofit entity that would be granted the charter. Among other things, that duty would include overseeing the contractual relationships with the applicant's two primary partners, the first being the $3 million landlord-tenant relationship with Valley Forge Military Academy, and the other being the $1 million annual operating contract relationship with the Arizona-based for-profit management company Charter One. So as it is, as the application was submitted, it doesn't appear that the board has the professional experience to carry out those responsibilities. In addition, the Philadelphia Inquirer, in an article just published on December 24th, reported that the application was initiated by the management company Charter One. And I'll quote two sentences from that article. The first says, quote, "The company Charter One initiated the latest application," said Joshua Johnson, the chair of the board for the proposed charter, end quote. And a little bit later, quote, "A retired U.S. Army Green Beret who now works for a leadership development firm, Johnson, who lives in Carlisle, said he was contacted by Charter One to serve on the board," end quote. That reporting that the board chair was recruited by the management company, combined with the fact that there isn't educational or financial or accounting expertise on the board, makes it feel like the nonprofit applicant entity was set up as a proxy or a stand-in entity for the for-profit. And I don't know charter school law myself, so this is a question for RTSD lawyers, but at what point is that a violation of PA charter law when the applicant is nominally a nonprofit, but the real control is held by a for-profit management company? I want to quote one more sentence, and this is from the PA Department of Education website. Quote, "In the event that a for-profit entity plays a role in the establishment of a charter school, the charter applicant must further demonstrate that the charter school's board of trustees will retain real and substantial authority over the operation of the school, educational decisions, and staff," end quote. So again, with this application, it feels like the management company, rather than the nonprofit, is in a position to have the, quote, real and substantial authority. So I will stop there. Thank you for your consideration, and thank you to the RTSD board and administration for your due diligence.